Hello and welcome to the first episode of Music Ministry Matters. This is a series of shorts to help us think about where we are as church as we emerge from the pandemic and rediscover the song of our congregations. I hope that in the future I'll be able to do these live so that we can be a bit more interactive and I can respond to your comments and your questions, but my internet connection is really not up to it at the moment, so I'm going to pre-record them for now. But please do comment and share and let's get this conversation going. Many of the conversations I'm having at the moment are with people who say that their congregations aren't singing again yet, or I get messages from people who say that their music group is just pulling itself back together, having been disbanded and more or less redundant now for almost 2 years. And so we are in the position of needing to restore our ministries, our ministry of music and song, rediscover the song of our congregation. They are very much in danger of falling silent and losing their song forever if we can't bridge the repertoire rift, if we can't find new leaders and members for our music groups and choirs, if we can't find a way to rediscover the heart song of faith. And that's what this series is about. In this episode, I want to share 3 key points that we perhaps need to be focusing on as we move forward. 3 areas that can make all the difference to whether our parishes will sing again or whether we'll just continue to watch the decline of ministries and hand over music ministry to the CD player. First, we need to focus on forming leaders. Forming leaders, not just expecting them to appear out of thin air. We need real lay leadership and not just happy volunteers who are in charge of things. We have a habit as church of putting people in charge of things and giving them responsibility without real authority. So you're in charge of picking the music for Mass, but you're not in charge of helping the members of your team to grow and deepen their understanding of the liturgy and the love of the Lord. That is the real priority, and the music for the Mass is the fruit of that growth. And so we need leaders who can lead in that way. And it's about helping them to develop the heart of a leader and the skill of holding and journeying with those whom they lead. The second thing, make a meaningful invitation. Make a meaningful invitation to ministry. You know, our methods often don't go beyond a notice in the bulletin and maybe a brief announcement at the end of Mass. In these early Sundays of Ordinary Time, we hear the call of the disciples in the Gospel. And Jesus never said, "Come, I really need you. I really need help. I'm trying to build a church. Can you help?" He appealed to something deeper inside of people. "Master, where do you live? Come and see." And so we have to find a way to appeal to something deeper in people so they can hear that call to serve and come forth. And whether we need them to or not is irrelevant. They need to step into who God has called them to be. And our task is simply to facilitate that. If that call is to music ministry, then our task is to help them hear it and to create the opportunity to serve. And that's always going to be more inspiring than a call to help out because the choir's struggling a little bit. Thirdly, create a culture of collaboration and cooperation. With different Mass times and different Mass centres, it's easy to be each group for themselves and each Mass time for themselves and each Mass centre for themselves. And then the awkward tension that arises when perhaps one Mass time has to be removed from the schedule or Mass centres have to be amalgamated into one parish. It's painful, it's uncomfortable for us all, but it's the reality of where we are as church at the moment. An effective pastoral leader sees all these threads of disparate groups and disparate people who need to find a way to serve together and calls them into communion. And it's difficult because if you've got more than one person in charge, who leads? And I think the answer is that we lead out of team. Jesus called the disciples and sent them out in twos, 2 by 2. We're called into communion for worship, and we're called into communion for leadership too. cooperation, co-responsibility. That's the language of Synod, and it should be the language of our parishes. How do we create that culture of collaboration? Who will first step forth and say, I want to work with you, alongside you, to bring this ministry to fruition? So, focus on forming leaders, make a meaningful invitation, and create a culture of cooperation and collaboration. When those three things are in place, it can make all the difference. And I want to share with you a little bit of feedback from a parish that I've been helping to implement the LIFT framework. Hi Joe, there's definitely a buzz about the music. The weekend music was the talk of the cafe on Monday morning, apparently. Choirs are settling in really well. New members are still joining. 2 guitarists have joined the 6 p.m. along with 6 other singers. So that is a completely new group. 9 a.m. is joining the new music too, but the biggest change is the 12 noon. There are about 12 to 14 new members of a variety of ages, including a couple of youngsters. It has transformed the liturgy at that mass, and people have noticed, and more are talking about joining. This parish has 2 members on our Music Ministry Collective programme, and I've been journeying with them for a while, and we've applied these principles of really collaborating across parish, all the mass times, both mass centres, of really making a meaningful invitation over a couple of different Sundays, really thought through the strategy of how we would present that call to ministry. Having a framework and a process makes all the difference. All of these issues we explore in depth regularly in the Music Ministry Collective, so if you have a heart for these and you want to journey with us, perhaps you'll consider joining us. Meanwhile, until our next episode, God bless you and keep singing.